If you don't create the space in your life for optimism, you get overwhelmed by pessimism. And then pessimism drives out any potential for creative thinking.
It's interesting. If I had to pick a common thread through the questions and what you've generously provided to us over the 45 minutes of insight, I would tell you it is probably communication. You've brought up communication with the United States. You've brought up communication with our allies. You've brought up communication at the organization of the UN. And it seems like communication is perhaps the aspect that is sorely lacking presently from the oil of the international system. It's given me quite a bit to think about, and I appreciate those insights very much. I'm looking forward to reviewing this video and listening again to those contributions. Sir, I'm incredibly grateful for your time. I've promised a 45-minute interview, and we're approaching the end. But is there anything that you would say to an audience interested in international relations, international economics, that will vest them with a hopeful future? There's a lot of bad news out there. There's a lot of challenges. But I always find that the world has a bright spot too. Based on your career, your illustrious long career, what positive note would you want to leave for Canadians who are listening to the show about the international system and about ways that they can see a brighter future ahead?
Well, the first one is we have no real alternative but to think more globally and to think more internationally about what's going on in our own lives and what really matters. Um, it, it just is. It's just the way it is. We cannot retreat into ourselves. We have to continue to look outwards because there's just so much. There's so much there, and it has so much impact on everything that happens to us. The second thing is this question of communication, and that is a good part of communication is not just talking, but a good part of communication is also listening. We give a lot of courses on public speaking. We don't give very many courses on intensive listening. And I think when we talk about communication, when we talk about communication, we need to remember the famous saying of George Bernard Shaw is that the biggest mistake we make in thinking about communication is believing that it's already happened. We always start with assumptions about what other people know and what other people are thinking and feeling. And we're often amazed when you say, well, didn't you know that? Or didn't I tell you that? Or weren't you aware of that? And you don't get there without effectively communicating and also effectively listening to what other people are saying. And the last thing I'd say is that if you don't create the space in your life for optimism, you get overwhelmed by pessimism. And then pessimism drives out any potential for creative thinking. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in other people's lives. People can't think of options because they're too pessimistic. They're too defeated. They've defeated themselves. And so this is really why it is so important to think in a context of how can we make things better? How can we improve things? And there is no perfect answer, but there are some answers, and it's important to keep trying to find them. And that, I think, is the spirit that we should all embrace. Think globally, learn how to listen, and really, really learn how to think positively about what you can do and how you, as an individual, can contribute to making the world a better place.